everyone, thanks for listening to Sex with Emily. On today's podcast, I am joined by well-known sexologist Amy Jo Goddard. We'll be getting into her latest book, Woman on Fire, and exploring common issues such as low sexual desire, mismatched libidos, what it means to be sexually broken, and most importantly, how to get the sex life you've always wanted and deserve. Thanks for listening. Okay, the genius design team at WeVibe has done it again. The brand new Nova by WeVibe is quite simply a dual stimulation superstar in that it expertly pleasures your clitoris and G-spot at the same time without missing a beat. You might be thinking, that sounds a lot like my favorite rabbit vibe, but it's not. Unlike traditional rabbits that tend to lose contact when you slide the shaft outward, when you slide the shaft outside of you, the Nova's external stimulator is extra long and curved, creating firm, flexible external pressure while you maneuver the G-spot stimulator however you like it. What this means is that the external stimulator never leaves your clitoris, which is exactly what the majority of women need to achieve orgasm. The Nova's easy-to-use controls let you cycle through its multiple vibration modes and even allows you to work the internal and external stimulation independently. As if this wasn't blowing your mind enough, you can also customize a Nova by connecting it to your smartphone via the We Connect app, which is so cool. It means your partner can use it, you can use it, you don't have to touch the buttons. It's such a great app that you can use in all the products. It's great. The Nova by WeVibe is so unique that you have to try it to believe it, right? And I never steer you wrong. Go to sexwithemily.com, look for the Nova banner, and then use promo code Emily at checkout for a special discount. Thanks for listening.
Look into his eyes. They're the eyes of a man obsessed by sex. Eyes that mock our sacred institutions. Bedroom eyes, they call them in a bygone day.
Hey, Emily, you got a boyfriend?
Because my man E here, he just got his heart broken. He thinks you're kind of cute.
A girl's gotta have her standards. Oh my.
Do women know about shrinkage?
Isn't it common knowledge?
What do you mean, like laundry? It shrinks?
Can we not talk about sex so much?
Are you kidding me?
Oh my God, I feel so good.
Being bad feels pretty good.
But you know, Emily's not the kind of girl you just play with.
You're listening to Sex with Emily. We're talking about sex, relationships, and everything in between. For more information, go to sexwithemily.com, where you can check out all of our podcasts, and you can sign up for our mailing list, and you can also subscribe to the podcast, because we do 2 podcasts a week, and it's so easy. Then you'll just get them, and then you listen to them, and you'll never miss them. Right, Menace?
Right.
Hi, Menace.
Hey, what's going on, Emily?
So
How you doing?
excited.
Oh, man. I am excited to talk to you because we ended the last podcast together on a cliffhanger. If you listen to the last maybe 5 seconds, she threw a boomerang at me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
If that's a term.
Yeah, I threw something
you
to you.
You threw a wrench in the
I threw
conversation?
a whole wrench in the conversation.
And then you said, can't talk about it anymore.
Yeah, because I was, you're right. I should have given us more time that I am getting a dog. Again. This weekend.
What?
I'm going to
Okay.
San Francisco to get the dog.
We've been through this before.
We did, but it was, okay, you're right.
Okay. How long did the last dog last?
2 years.
2 years, which is a pretty good run for you. That's maybe, no, that's still not the longest relationship you've had.
It was 2.5 years.
2.5 years was the longest one.
3 years. 2.5, yeah.
Yeah. Now, why do you think that you are able to take care of a dog?
Well, let's just talk about it. You're
now?
making me sound like I'm an
No, not that.
This
It's
is
just-
why, because when I
don't
got
believe you have enough
Daisy,
time.
no, I do now, because when I got Daisy in San Francisco, it was, I'd never had a dog before, and she was a puppy, a Jack Russell puppy, which if you know anything about dogs, they're crazy, so much energy, and I am
Farted
such a
on me
good
once, hated it.
fart on you. I know this is the thing about you, Menace. Someone wrongs you once, and you just write them off completely.
Dead to me.
My dog just farted on you once, and you never ever would talk and said one nice word about her ever again. One of my boyfriends you thought looked like a used car salesman.
Well,
and
he
now
did.
They all suck.
He had a pinky ring.
Dude, okay, so the
Does
dog,
that not scream used car salesman?
He didn't have a pinky ring.
He had a pinky ring and a suit.
Or a pimp.
He was definitely not a pimp. He definitely would sell me a vulva.
A vulva?
A vulva?
He might say a vulva. He didn't know his way around the vulva, I'll tell you that. But that was a whole other story. So this dog, so what happened was when I moved to San Francisco, from San Francisco, I had like the baby daddy in San Francisco, my ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
But I moved to LA, it was just harder to manage and find a place
Yeah.
with the dog. I didn't have a lot of money when I moved here 3 years ago. It was just like, it was tough to manage her. And then this family that I know fell in love with her in Palm Springs, and they have Daisy now.
Yeah.
But my friend Charlotte, who works as a vet, you've met Charlotte, at a shelter. I've been telling her, like, I want a dog like Stanley. I want a dog like Stanley, who's Anderson's dog, who's like an older Jack Russell. And this dog looks like Stanley. His name's Pepe, and he's about 6 years old,
Yeah.
and he looks exactly like, it's almost like I'm like single white female getting the same freaking dog as
Now,
as-
Anderson's dog is very well behaved, okay? Now, this dog, Pepe, how much
cute,
do you
right?
know about his behavior?
Well, we FaceTimed a few times, and Charlotte's
great.
Charlotte is actually, here's the picture. Charlotte's actually
a very cute dog.
Thank you. Charlotte he's been at the shelter for 6 months, and so she's gotten to witness the dog, and everybody is so into the dog, and
They're
so he's
into the
very
dog,
friendly.
but why would it be
Not
there
adopted?
for 6 months?
Because there's a lot of like little chihuahuas that people just don't want. It's older. So that's what I'm doing. Again, I think I'm ready again. I would like a dog, and I have
Okay.
more time. I'm moving. I'm gonna get a place with a yard.
Nice.
Dude, everything's changing. Where have you been?
You're going to get a place to the yard. Okay, then I could bring Churro over,
Yes.
and then we can
Oh
have
my
a
God.
doggy play date.
Can we do that?
As long as your dog is nice.
No, apparently this
Churro's
is the
very
other thing.
nice.
You're going to understand this is that Charlotte said that he gets along with every kind of dogs and cats, and he's super friendly.
Cool, because
We could
Churro
go on
loves
doggy
playing with
dates.
other dogs.
So I'm with mine already
Yeah.
that I know, Pepe. So
Pepe.
Churro Pepe is the only thing
All
that's
right.
friends. Okay, I'm
well,
excited.
we'll give it another try.
Okay, perfect.
Another go
I
around.
know it's embarrassing actually in the whole story, like who gets rid of a dog, but it was a whole thing. But we have a very exciting guest here today. But first, I wanted to we do a little sex in the news.
All right, go for it. A lot
Okay.
of stuff going on in the news.
College bans energy drinks for contributing to high risk sexual activity.
Okay.
Are they doing this for alcohol? I'm not sure. They're banning high risk.
I know they were banning Four Locos on campuses because that was energy drinks and alcohol, and people just get crazy because they'll get drunk and then like super hyperactive, you know?
Right.
But I mean, what would be the difference of putting Red Bull and
I don't
vodka
know.
together?
I mean,
Who
that's
knows?
exactly probably what. I mean, how do you ban an energy drink from college? They sell it at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
So Middlebury College in
They probably
Vermont-
just won't sell them on campus anymore. That's probably
Right.
what's going on.
You can like go to the Safeway
Yeah.
outside campus, but they're banning on-campus sales of energy drinks, claiming they are linked to problematic behavior such as high-risk sexual activity.
Where is this again? Utah or something?
Vermont,
Okay.
Middlebury College, which
I
is
know
like a small
nothing
preppy
about
college.
Vermont.
The abuse of intoxicating substances, reports NBC News. The ban takes effect on March 7th. Will apply to popular beverages like Red Bull, 5-Hour Energy. According to the campus, dining services officials say the drinks don't encourage a healthy lifestyle for college students. Energy drink consumption facilitates unhealthy work habits such as prolonged periods of sleeplessness, contributing to campus culture, stress, and unsustainable study habits. There are more important things for them to address, and energy drinks, they want to know, like, what does it have to do with sexual activity? So I thought if you mix it with, like, vodka, right? But there are people they're saying they're having risky sexual activity on energy
Well,
drinks. Which I
they're
don't drink energy
They're
drinks.
just not in their right mind.
I have risky sexual activity without energy drinks.
Yeah, of course.
But why would it make you, I mean, I get the caffeine part of it, but
Well, it's just because they want to stay up and they want to party and they want to
true.
go do things.
I mean, that makes sense, but
Sorry, I was looking up something right now
I know,
because
what are
I
you
actually I was addicted to sugar-free Red Bull. That was my jam. I loved it. But then I realized, okay, I got to make a change. And I've never liked coffee in my entire life, but I found something called High Brew, and it's like low-calorie coffee
Okay.
drinks. And so I switched to that. And
Where do you get it?
They even sell them in health food stores.
High Brew, H-I,
High Brew, you can buy it on Amazon, but then some health food stores, they sell them.
has lots of caffeine in it and stuff?
I mean, it works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
It's good.
I quit caffeine for 2 months just for fun, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So now I'm drinking it again.
I just need it for for the
Oh,
morning.
well, you get up at 4 a.m. on the Woody Show.
3 a.m. and
3
then
a.m.
get to work at 4 a.m.
I know. You know what's weird? That I often go to bed at 3 a.m. and I see you like on Instagram at 3 a.m. and I want to just call you and say hi.
What's going on?
What's going on, Menace?
Just working.
But what is going on? Anything? We're going to bring in our guests in a minute. But is there anything else I need to know about you?
Last time we talked, we were just talking about festival seasons coming up. Everyone's gonna be having fun. Just please, people, just don't take ecstasy. It's not worth it. I just don't need another dead person at a festival.
Does everyone
It
always
just
die
happens
ecstasy?
all the time.
Because it's not even pure ecstasy anymore. It's like
It's
just bad, and it does mess up your brain. It really does. People think it doesn't.
Yeah,
and
there's
you
so
see
many.
people all the time.
It's like smoke weed, eat edibles, do something like that.
Yeah,
No one's
that's
dying
fine.
off that stuff,
Just
but
smoke. They're not
it's just like
dying. They're
every
having
year you
panic
just hear
attacks.
about like this really young person that's super dehydrated that
sad.
takes ecstasy and dies.
I know. Just smoke
Just
a lot of
don't,
weed.
just
yo.
don't do it.
know.
Smoke weed, eat food.
I
drink,
do.
have
I am
fun.
considering going to Coachella.
Do it.
Do you think? I don't know. It seems like it's so crowded.
It
I
is
used
very
to go-
crowded.
I know.
Thousands of people go.
I like it though. I mean, I'm down with the music thing.
So that's the latest. And just just planning a lot of trips throughout the year. The calendar is filling up.
I know you're so busy. I need to travel more. It's on the list, and moving and getting a dog.
When are we gonna hang out with your brother? I was just thinking about him the other day.
Why?
I was reading some news about Detroit, and I know your brother's a big deal in Detroit. And then I just started thinking about him, and I was like, when is he gonna come by again? I missed that guy.
You know what? I don't know when he's coming, but my ex sister-in-law is coming with my 3 nieces at the end of the month. But that's not. As
Oh,
fun as
really?
my
What are
brother.
they gonna do? How old are they?
Oh my God!
I forget because they were like little kids last time I saw
Oh
them.
my God! They
Yeah.
are 16,
Oh, what?
14, and 7.
How are you gonna keep them busy?
My sister-in-law is coming, so she's gonna keep him busy, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna entertain him. I don't know. I want him to go see like TV shows and tapings that are for kids.
Well, if you're coming to town, you have kids. Of course, I always recommend Disneyland.
Yeah.
And then there's something that's really cool.
Tell me.
That people should go to. Not a lot of people know about it. Is the WB tour at the WB Studios?
Oh.
It's really cool. You get to walk on sets and go in the prop rooms and all kinds of stuff. So highly recommend it. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's super fun.
That's good.
You can even go on the friend set and sit on the couch and take photos and all that kind of
Oh
stuff.
my God, they love Friends. Will you come with us and entertain them? You're probably good with kids.
Yeah. I mean, my work's right there. I could probably do it.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, well, let's say hello to our guest. Hi, Amy.
Let's
Amy Jo
talk
Goddard
some
here.
sex. I'm sorry, I'm boring
Amy
people
Jo
with
Goddard was on the
Disneyland.
show. I know we're talking Disneyland. I don't know. Was Menace on the last? You were on like 4 years ago in San
it was a
Francisco.
while ago.
It was T Radio V when we were doing
Oh
that.
yeah. I
I
didn't
feel
get to
like
do.
You weren't there.
No, because I was working for Stitcher at the time.
That's right.
Yeah,
you couldn't
so I
do
couldn't.
the
I
T
couldn't.
Radio V shows.
I couldn't
Okay,
go over there.
got it. So we did a show in San Francisco. So that was it, and then I just recently saw you at She.
Yeah.
And congratulations on your new book.
Thank you.
Woman on Fire, 9 Elements to Wake Up Your Erotic Energy, Personal Power, and Sexual Intelligence.
Yeah.
Is it not with Red Bull?
We were just
You-
talking
we were
about
just
Red
talking about
Bull.
Red Bull, so-
How they're
No,
banning it on
okay.
college campuses and stuff.
Hopefully they won't ban my book on college.
All right.
It was
yes.
not. They,
They need
need
my
your
book.
They need
book
it.
on college
need my book.
campuses, right? And then last time you were on the show, also you talked about your other book, which is very popular, which I think that people love hearing. But this is Lesbian Sex Secrets for Men.
Yeah, it just came out in second edition.
Oh, really?
Actually. Yeah.
That's what I've always
Came
said.
out on
Is
ebook.
it,
This is why he always says this.
I haven't read the book, but is it just a guide for men because women know their own bodies, of course, and they know how to deal with other women.
Exactly.
So there it is. See,
you get
Been
it.
preaching it for years.
See how
That's why
quickly
I
you got
don't
the
get it.
concept?
Okay,
When I
Emily.
teach blowjob
people-
classes, he's like,
she-
I don't understand why men should
Okay, I was just like,
People
look,
do that. What do
Emily.
lesbians have to teach me? I'm like,
No,
what?
I agree.
He agrees with you.
I agree with you 1,000%. I think that is awesome. It's just okay. Emily does blow job classes, and I bet they are
Fine.
effing amazing. But it's just like I honestly would probably want to hear. I mean, I would love for you to have a gay guy assistant who has a penis that would probably give a little more insight on giving
Well,
a
that's why I
blowjob.
thought you'd appreciate Amy Jo's last book. And
Yeah.
I'm just bringing it up for that. But first,
Love
let's
it.
cover. But first, let's talk about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How you became interested in of human sexuality. If people did not hear the podcast a few years ago, tell me how you got into this field.
Yeah, I got into this field because, like many people, I didn't have any information growing up about sex. And I went through a lot of really hard experiences. I talk about them in the book. You can read them there. all the stuff, unplanned pregnancies, pregnancy scares, sexual assault, my whole sexual life starting non-consensually, all that stuff.
Right,
Lots
all
of
that
people
stuff.
experienced. So, and I grew up with a dad who was a single parent of three daughters, who was in the military. So, there was just
I'm sure he couldn't even be there most of the time, right?
There was no conversation about sex in my house.
Oh.
And so we moved a lot, and I went to 3 different high schools. I never got one iota of sex education. Like my education was really kind of screwed up. I read like The Scarlet Letter 3 times, but then there was books I never read, and things like that.
Right. So then you thought, I'm going to go to school for it. I'm going to start studying
Yeah, I mean, I came into my own sexual empowerment once I got the education that I had needed. And I was like, wow, why did I have to wait this long?
Right.
And I was becoming a young feminist activist. And actually, I was doing radio and using radio platform for, and becoming more and more politicized when I was in college. And, fighting a lot of the same fights we're still fighting today,
Right,
which is kind of crazy, actually. We were doing a lot of work around reproductive health and justice. We were doing a lot of work about, the problem with sexual assault on our campus. And then, I knew that I really wanted to do work that would specifically empower women and girls. And then I finally kind of put that all together. Oh my God, I want to do sexuality work. How do I do that?
Right, exactly.
This was pre-internet. I couldn't just be like, oh, where do I go study that? Like, I went to a library. Do you remember?
Yes,
What?
I do, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
They had to pull out one of those little cards.
The Dewey
figure out
Decimal
where the book
System.
was.
Yeah.
My mom was a librarian. I remember all that. I got an A in library. No, but it's weird. That's what we used to do.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
I know.
No.
Okay, so, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go,
Before we
Menace.
get too deep into it, you mentioned that. So you have 2 sisters, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the path that you've gone on you think since they had a similar upbringing, they kind of went on the same path, or is it totally opposite?
No, I'm sort of the odd. I'm the outside of the box one in the family.
Right.
One of my sisters is also. I would call her queer. I don't know if she calls herself queer. I don't want to identify her that way. But, we're more similar, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is, like, living a more kind of traditional life. They both have 2 kids. And, we've all kind of done well.
When you say queer, identify as queer then. Like, I feel like everyone's like, how would you define the queer?
Yeah, I always
not
say, if you want to know
lesbian,
what
not
queer
bisexual.
is, you ask 10
I
different
know.
queers, you'll
Yeah.
get 10
That's
different
what I'm saying.
answers.
I hadn't heard that in a while.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's more about, like, not saying that, being more fluid or being more, but it's queer. I just, coming from San Francisco, I feel like I don't hear that. I did hear that a lot, and now I feel like I don't hear queer as much as an identity.
Yeah.
I know it still exists. I'm just wondering how you define it.
Yeah, for me, it came out of being politicized. I'm very politicized about sexuality. I didn't come to my own sexuality and also to my work in sexuality as just a profession. I came to it wanting to really shift something around gender, politics, and how we treat people's sexuality and human rights. So that's really my perspective. And a lot of young queers don't always know the history. I was laughing with a friend of mine, Tristan Taormino, who recently, because she said she heard at an event, she heard a young queer person say, "No one over 40 identifies as queer," and it's just like, really?
Right.
You all did not invent that.
Exactly.
There was a group called Queer Nation that was very active when I was in college. And so I took on that identity shortly after that when I came out. It fit for me because it is broader, and I find, I'm not offended if I'm called a lesbian or whatever, but that's not really accurate, although I did publish that book. Most of my relationships are with women. But
Most are with women.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes with men.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have male lovers, but that's very even lesbian was a very political identity.
No, it's true. It's
at
all
one
political
time.
now. It's like you never know. Right.
But yeah, for
Thing
me,
to say.
it's about being outside of the box. It's about living outside of the box in a lot of different ways and making those kinds of choices.
But since you started pre-internet, and now, I mean, it's gone to the mainstream. What do you think still needs to be worked on? I mean, I'm sure there's a laundry list of things, but Man.
laundry list.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, right now, right? I mean, the Supreme Court is dealing with, a case in Texas around abortion. I mean, we're still having this debate around abortion and
It's
around
insane.
women having control
Right.
over their own bodies. I cannot believe we're still
can't either.
having this debate.
I know.
I can't believe we're still having the debate about sex education in schools. I mean, at least finally, President Obama got rid of all of that abstinence-only funding.
Like last week.
Yeah,
That's what they do with their
just
final
happened.
term, the final months. They're like, I'll do this.
I mean, thank goodness. I mean, Clinton signed that into, I mean, we've been dealing with this for
20 years.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And we know that it actually has not helped young people at all. There's no evidence that it's helped. So, yeah, I mean, I think we still have a long ways to go. I think at least we can talk about it a little bit more, but I think there's still a lot of factions wanting to control people based on their gender and their sexuality, and that to me is the work.
Yeah, it's true. It never ends. That's why we'll always be working here and have a job. But tell me about your newest book, Women on Fire. Right?
Yeah.
People always be listening and reading. Tell me about Women on Fire. So, what influenced you to write this book and to focus on this particular topic in the book?
Yeah, most of my work is with women. I do work with men in some of my programs. Like I do a lot of work around sex and money. I work with a lot of men in that work. I did my first book for men, but my work has really focused on empowering women over the last 5 or 6 years. And so the book is about my own journey of sexual empowerment. It's about there's a lot of client stories that are really rich in the book, and that I think a lot of women will relate to. And it's my model of sexual empowerment. So the 9 elements are a way of breaking it down. It wasn't like this intellectual process, like I'm going to come up with 9 things.
Right.
And, it didn't go that way.
It just sort of evolved that way. So
Yeah,
talk about that, the core energy model of sexuality.
I think sexuality is the core of our being. I think that we start from there. And we use that energy for everything we create in our lives. And I think we are here as creative beings. I think that's what we're meant to do. You're creating this podcast. We all have creative endeavors in our lives, things that, we're creating families, we're creating communities, we create art and music. We use that energy for all of those things. So that's my worldview. And so then I think we get to direct that energy. We get to use it to connect. Certainly sexually, but also in other ways, and to create the intimacy that we want. And in the ways in which we utilize that energy, sometimes those things empower us, and sometimes they disempower us. So, an identity is one of the pieces that is in that model. At some point, that part might be moot, but right now, it's important.
So what are you hoping that people will get out of this model that you think they don't get from other sources?
I haven't seen anyone break sexual empowerment down in a way that is palatable for people. The first chapter of the book is called The Big Round Ball. And I call it The Big Round Ball because this woman said to me one day on the phone, who had been wanting to work with me for several years, and we were talking, and she was trying to make the decision of how she wanted to move forward. And she said, I just feel like my sexuality is this big round ball, and I don't know what to grab onto or how to get in. And I just thought, yeah, I think that's how a lot of people feel. They know they have work to do around it. They know they want more, but it feels so overwhelming because it's so complex. And so I started the book with that, and then I broke it down into those 9 elements so that there were lots of entry points for people. And those 9 elements are the things that every client who has walked through my doors, we've dealt with. Their voice, how they show up emotionally, what do they need to release in order to make space for who they really are, desire, giving themselves permission, learning to play, really coming home to themselves, all of those things. And of course, fire.
Right.
And so there's different ways we could break it down. And to me, that was the way that made sense when I looked organically at the work I'd been doing.
Okay. And who is it targeted to? Like, who do you think would get the most out of the book? Everyone? Women who...
I mean, I wrote it for and about women, but I think a lot of people can get a lot out of it. I mean, a guy in London read the book and then called me up and said, please coach me, please work with, and so,
Right.
I don't sign a lot of private clients who are men, but he had read the book and got so much out of it that he showed up.
Because you say in the book that most of us are sexually broken.
I think most people think they are.
Think they are.
I don't say
Okay.
they are.
Okay.
I think
for
we
people
think we
who
are.
feel they are sexually broken. So
Yeah.
can you talk about that? Feeling you're sexually broken?
Yeah, I mean, I think that because sex is still so taboo, and we aren't talking openly about it, we aren't getting real stories. I mean, we're getting this glossy, sexualized culture, but we're not necessarily getting like real stories unless we're listening to Sex with Emily
Right.
or we're listening to, you know. So your listeners are more in the know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think by and large, people really think that their problems are like
Unique to them.
unique.
Yeah, everyone thinks
no
you're
one
the
else
first
is
one.
like this.
Right. That's what always...
They're in a lot of pain.
I know.
People are in a lot of pain.
That's why it's great to have the conversation or to have books like that. People are like, oh, I'm not alone. Like, it's okay that I have low sexual desire. Because you talk about like low libidos and mismatched libidos. People just think they're the first ones it's happened to ever. They're like, oh, everyone else suffers from this. So making it more normalized and having information for them is very useful. So let's talk a little bit about like low sexual desire, because that's something that comes up a lot.
Yeah,
I know you cover in your book as well. And how prevalent it is in our culture. I mean, I think that people are just like, we get calls and emails and they don't know what the cause of it is and that there's something wrong with them and they don't want to talk about it. So how much do you hear about it and how prevalent do you think it is and how do you
It's definitely issues around desire are the number one thing people come to me with. And there's
that
a
they don't
range.
no longer have the desire they had.
It can be that. It can be, oh, I used to have it. It went away. What's wrong? I'm going through menopause. I think there's a problem. It could be, sometimes it's health issues that have gotten in the way or medications. There's various things. It can be, I've never really had it. What's wrong with me? I feel like I'm missing out.
Right.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world is having this experience that I'm not having. What's the matter? And then a lot of times it comes up because there's a mismatch in relationships, like you said.
Right. So how do you work with them on it?
It really depends what the orientation is. Part of it, I think, is accepting their own normalcy and looking, and I always use that word in quotes, air quotes.
Right, what is normal, right.
What's normal? Usually I think when we lack desire sexually, it can be multiple things. It can be, well, I don't have enough pleasure in the whole of my life, and so there's nothing that's actually, fueling
right.
that sexual desire. There's nothing supporting that, right? If you're hate your job, you don't like what you're doing every day, you get up frustrated, you go to bed, of course, you're not going to have desire. I think sometimes it's also the way couples are approaching sex. It's like if you're trying to have sex at 10 or 11 o'clock at night after you've put the kids to bed and you've done everything else and you're exhausted, you're not going to feel a lot of desire. You're not going to feel very sexy.
You gotta, and that's something that people also, they beat themselves up. Why don't I want it that time? Just have to be, compromising and negotiating, talking to your partner. Like, that's never going to work for me, Menace. You probably, Menace wakes up at 3 a.m. every day. And I don't think that your girlfriend probably wakes up at 3 a.m. with you.
No.
No,
So
you're not having morning sex at 3 a.m.?
No. Her and the dog are out cold.
Right.
every
So
day.
couples, this happens. You got to negotiate around it and make compromises, and it has to be part of your conversation.
Yeah.
Because people just don't know how to talk about it, as we know. And you also talk about healing from trauma and releasing sexual shame, because that's another big issue. I think men and women have a lot, obviously, around shame and trauma, and they just, like a lot of issues, we think we can just, kind of sweep it under the rug and it'll go away, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It only gets worse, typically.
It only does.
Right. So, how do you? What does it mean, do you think, to be sexually empowered and to help people through that? How do you work with them?
I have a women's sexual empowerment program, and we address that really head on in the first weekend of that program. And a lot of, what keeps shame in place is that we don't talk about it. We don't tell the stories. We're in that place of like, I'm so broken, nobody else has gone through this. So a big part of it is bringing it out and saying, let's look at it. I mean, a lot of times when a prospect calls me up and I talk to them, or one of my team members talks to them on the phone, they're telling us stories they've never spoken before. They often haven't even told their partners. Right. Because finally there's someone they feel like is going to listen to them without judgment. And so that's such a big piece of what people need. And there's so much fear of being judged and so much fear that I'm going to be rejected. I think those are the two biggest fears people have around sexuality. So I think those two fears keep the shame in place because people stay silent about it.
And that's why they're not having the sex that they want because they are so afraid of being judged. I mean, you're just talking about fantasies, trauma fantasies, anything that you desire in bed. And we're so worried that we're going to be judged because people do judge.
Yeah, it's true. And sometimes we've had those experiences of like a partner saying something kind of messed up to us, or, you know, a friend saying, what, you're into that? You know, I mean, a lot of the attitudes we get.
I know. It only takes
Shut
like
us
one
down.
person sometimes saying something really horrible to you sexually when you're young. Is that why you're suffering? Did somebody say something bad to you?
No.
Just kidding. Okay, so we'll be right back. We're going to continue with Amy Jo Goddard and her book. But first, I need to talk about the Vibratex Magic Wand Rechargeable. By now, you all know me pretty well, and I love new experiences, but I also love my favorite things that I always come back to because I can trust them. And I can't think of a better example than the Magic Wand. If you've been listening, you might remember that I actually had a hole drilled into my nightstand, so my Magic Wand was always plugged in and ready when I needed it. That is commitment. And I thought it was pretty ingenious, actually. But now you don't need to destroy your furniture because the Magic Wand is unplugged. It's rechargeable. It has 4 intensity levels, 4 great vibration patterns. And for 30 years, the Magic Wand has been just about everyone's go-to massager. It has a perfect size, high quality construction and materials. It's no wonder the Magic Wand is considered the Cadillac of all vibrators. If you don't own one yet, don't even go another day of your life. Do you like it?
Could you not? Yeah,
right?
it's my
Do you love
favorite.
it? Amy Jo,
always
really?
has
You
been.
probably-
I'm so thrilled.
Right?
There's so many new models that are kind of modeled after, you know,
Right.
the original. I'm thrilled about it.
But the
And I love
originals-
Vibratex.
I
They're
know,
awesome.
I love them too. Yay. Okay, so go to sexwithelmy.com, click on the Magic Wand banner, and to order yours today because we love it. Okay, so so your book, Amy Jo Goddard, they can find you at amyjogoddard.com.
Yep.
Goddard, and this is all on my website as well. But and at Amy Jo Goddard on Twitter and Facebook.com/AmyJoGoddard.coach. Okay, so and then your book, we're talking about that, and I would love to just also, I know that this is the Lesbian Sex Secrets for Men. You released an expanded second edition. So what is new in the book?
A bunch of things.
I'd
It
like
was
to
so
know.
fun. It's like you often don't get the second chance, you know?
Right. How amazing.
And
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. The book has sold so well that when I went back to Penguin Random House with the new book, they were like, wait, what? We don't have an ebook of Lesbian Sex Secrets for Men? I'm like, yeah, what's wrong? So yeah, it was great. We got to actually get a much better cover for it because I always hated the first cover.
I want to see it. Okay.
The cover's fabulous. And yeah, so I got to edit through and really update the language. I mean, it's a 15-year-old book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It came out in 2000.
Wow.
So I was a wee 29-year-old at the time. So yeah, and then we added sections on things that weren't really happening.
Like anal?
We added
More
a lot
anal?
of stuff about anal. Yeah, a lot of stuff about that. And then
Not
we
that it
added,
wasn't happening. People
Not
were
that it wasn't
talking about
happening.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I mean, we had a chapter on anal then. We just added more to it.
Right.
And more stuff about technology and sex. And then one of my favorite sections we added, well, a couple. One, we added something on polyamory because that wasn't really in the conversation at the
Right.
time. I was doing it, but it wasn't being talked about it in the same way. And then we added a section for guys who are dating bisexual women because we've
Oh.
talked to so many of them over the years. And that can be a really big struggle,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you know?
God. So what do you tell them? What's your advice?
That
You know,
they're gonna eventually leave you.
it does sometimes happen.
Yeah.
It does. It's tricky, you know. It's not an easy thing for a lot of people, and because sometimes what it comes down to is a woman having to make the choice of choosing the relationship or choosing her sexuality,
Right.
which is the choice a lot of people get in, whether they're
Exactly.
bisexual or something
so true.
else, because they might be in a sexless marriage where they're like, well, I could stay with you and be in the marriage with you, or I could choose my sexuality and go have the sex life I want to
Right.
have.
Exactly.
You know, I talk to people who are in that struggle all the time. So, you know, I think it's really about communicating it, negotiating it, figuring out what's going to work for both of you and whether there is a win-win. Sometimes that's something women really do need to explore.
Right.
And they're going to eventually need to do it, whether they do it now or do it later. And so not having the conversation or addressing it just, again, sweeps under the rug, and then it becomes that elephant in the living room
Right.
at some point.
Exactly. You got to figure out what kind of life you want to live.
Yeah. I mean, but I think guys
Okay,
who attract those kinds of women tend to be awesome guys. All the ones I've known,
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, you're an awesome
How
guy.
would you describe that kind of guy?
Uh,
What's the similar traits?
I think that they tend to have a little bit of a better understanding of gender equity and what that looks like in a relationship. And I personally think, well,
Better lovers? What?
I think bisexual men are definitely better lovers. I don't know about the men who partner with bisexual women.
Got it.
But
what are some of the? Can we just get into the sex tips real quick? So, what are some of the most popular sex tips in the book, or you think that were really that like a lesbian needs to tell guys this, like about women's bodies? What would you think is a chapter or something that keeps getting brought up to you that people really enjoyed around the sex tips that you could share?
I think a big piece is really understanding the body and all the parts of the clitoris that never get talked about. I'm an anatomy geek. I love teaching anatomy, and every time I teach it, people are like, "What?" You know,
Right,
I
tell us
taught a
something.
class
Tell
at
us-
Pleasure Chest recently
Yeah.
about this. So
What don't we know?
Well, you know, the clitoris. I think we learned to think of it as like it's that little button, and if I push it just right,
Exactly.
she'll scream in ecstasy. You know, it's not like that. So it's got
wish.
all the same parts actually that male genitalia have. They're just organized differently, and so there's two large erectile. They're called crura or legs that run underneath the labia. And so actually bringing a lot of blood flow, starting with a lot of blood flow into the entire vulva, brings a lot of that blood into all her erectile parts that are mostly inside. The only part you actually get to see is the clitoral head.
Right.
She's got a shaft. She's got the legs. There's all this spongy tissue, you know, and so also there's spongy tissue on every side of the vagina. And so that's all erectile tissue. So even though a lot of women don't have orgasms through intercourse per se, a lot of their pleasure is derived from all of that
Area,
delicious tissue
I
being
know, and I think
stimulated.
people don't know. They don't know, right? I love that you're talking. We talk about this too. That it's not just about that.
Yeah.
The labia. I mean, there's so much.
There's so much.
So rich.
And then so when people really rush to intercourse, you're totally like bypassing the opportunity to really create a lot of pleasure for your partner. Because, you know, and then what ends up happening is women start to think, oh, sex hurts or intercourse hurts. I want to avoid that because they've been with partners who aren't actually doing their due diligence, bringing that blood flow, getting the vagina ready to want it.
Right.
And so then they have a partner that starts avoiding intercourse. And
Right.
they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, well,
You got turned on. You went right for the right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about. Foreplay. It's not a suggestion.
Why
it's a
are you
requirement.
yelling at
Just
me?
because we talk about it all the time.
Pointing.
You're the representation
Yeah,
of
I'm
all
like,
men right
geez,
now.
I
Yeah,
guess.
It's a lot of
here.
pressure. It's a lot of
But
pressure.
want to help us answer some emails from
All
the
right,
listeners?
cool.
Yeah.
How would that be, Amy? Okay, we've got some emails
Absolutely.
from the people. Thank you for emailing me feedback at sexwithemily.com. I love hearing from you. It's awesome. And would you please also include your name, how old you are, how you listen, which is so awesome. And here we go. Sexual guilt. Emily, I've been listening to your podcast recently and I've really connected with your show. It's incredibly informative and insightful. Recently, I've been struggling with somewhat of a weird issue that I haven't been able to get over. I experienced a lot of guilt after having sex. The sex ranges from long-term relationships to one-night stands. But every time I have sex, I feel this weird guilt bubble up inside me and I feel like I did something wrong. I'm 24. This has been going on since I was 17. I could really use some advice. Am I alone in feeling this? What insights do you have on this? Thanks, Martin. So, Amy Jo, I thought you may be able to help me answer this question for Martin.
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of people feel that way.
The shame and the guilt.
Oh my God. People
Right?
hold themselves back from so much pleasure and joy because of feeling guilty.
Right. How can we exactly all the time?
I mean, Martin, I think guilt is a wasted. It's wasted energy. It's
such a waste.
I think guilt really does nothing for us, but make
It's
us
a waste.
feel
My
bad.
mom always says it's a wasted emotion. It's not even an emotion though. She's like, it's a waste of time.
Yeah,
It is.
truly. I think, you know, I don't know what specifically. Did I miss it? Did he say anything specific of what he's feeling guilty about?
Just every time he has sex, ever since he was 17, he's felt guilt after.
It's just guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, it makes me curious. What happened when you were 17? Like, did
Well, that's
something
what I want to know.
occur?
Exactly. I think that there might
that-
be some trauma or some
Yeah.
Or,
issues.
parents
Something
might
happened
have
with a
said,
partner, or-
it could have been like my mom who said, if you're going to have sex, you're going to get her pregnant from the
Right.
first time. Like,
Right.
just messing with your head, you know?
Yeah, and he's
be
saying like
something like
every
that.
single time it could be a relationship or one night stand. So I think there's going to be some work here trying to figure out what happened at that age.
Yeah, I mean, what was the genesis of that? What's really the core? Like, what's underneath the guilt? Because it's really not about the guilt. It's about something happened that you never made peace with or gave yourself permission for.
Exactly.
I really want to encourage you to figure out that thing, and then I think you have to give yourself permission. That's one of the elements in the book. It's like we need so much permission to just be who we are as sexual people.
I know.
And like what we like.
And it's
not
okay.
be
And
like,
there was
"Oh,
no
this is
normal.
so
Don't compare
wrong."
yourself.
Yeah.
I know, exactly. It's so true. And I would say, I mean, and also this might not be something he can give himself permission, but this might not be something that he could work out on his own. So I would say,
Get some support. Absolutely.
Therapy.
Absolutely.
Okay, we got another email. Hey, Emily, fellow Wolverine here. Hell yes. Hail yes. Hail. Because hail to the victors. It's my school. 28-year-old female and listen religiously on the iTunes app. I appreciate everything you do to help make our society more sexually knowledgeable, and your co-host's advice has definitely educated me and improved my sex life.
Of course.
All that said, I have a dilemma I would love your guidance on. I recently started dating a guy, 29, who's absolutely incredible. We clicked almost immediately and learned quickly that we are very sexually compatible. I've never been so consistently aroused just thinking about a guy, let alone when we're actually together. My problem is when we became Facebook friends, I discovered that he still has several pictures of his ex-girlfriend posted, despite telling me that he had been single for quite some time. While this is somewhat of a red flag, my main concern is that she's an incredibly beautiful girl, great body, gorgeous face. I'm no troglodyte or anything. I just have a lot of insecurities related to stretch marks from weight loss and scars from abuse. I also have the problem of being a unicorn who thoroughly enjoys getting turned on, or getting turns on by giving head. And I worry that perhaps he's settling for me as a reflection of what he actually wants, which is her, the ex. Is there any way to approach these insecurities without seeming like a crazy person? If there is a male present to weigh in, how aware are men of these flaws that women obsess about? I do my best to give off confidence when we're intimate, as I know this is the key to sexiness, but I can't help but wonder if he is constantly comparing me to what he had before. Any help you can give would be greatly appreciated. You're so wonderful. Thanks again, Maddie.
Oh,
There's
man.
a lot here.
A lot going on.
Remember the days before pre-internet, guys?
Yeah.
This is just she got all that from photographs on Facebook
From an ex-girlfriend.
Right.
Yes.
One picture.
Right.
All
She's
that
made up a big
whole
story.
story.
Yeah.
Whole
Yep.
backstory. You know,
Do you think that men are that concerned? She's worried about the stretch mark. She's worried about.
And you know, when I speak, I'm speaking for all men. It's no guys.
Child.
Yeah,
This is
guys
when I
don't
get sued.
think about that stuff at all. They don't care. They're just
happy to be
with
there.
Happy to
you.
be
Yeah.
there.
They're happy
Right.
to be
They're
with
like, let's
you.
get a time.
They're happy to be having sex with you. Happy to be receiving fellatio. You know, all this stuff is being made up in your head. All these insecurities. Like, you should not. If he wanted to be with that person, he would go be with that person, or he would be with somebody similar to whoever that girl is in the 6 photographs.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
It's like,
yeah.
you're just worrying about it way too much. You need to be present in your relationship, and you're causing problems. You're causing issues.
I think she's
you know?
sabotaging it. She was just looking for something because these are already bubbling up below the surface.
Wait, how long were they been together?
I don't know.
Did it say? Are they 3 years into a relationship and he still has?
Recent. It's recent.
Okay.
Recent.
I'll tell you this. I never even check my Facebook messages. The thing is full. Like, I'm
But
not
it was a
going back.
picture.
I'm not
But who
going
don't
back
go back
into
and
my
delete? No one
photos and
deletes, I know.
deletes photos. I'm
That's the
not. I'm not even thinking about that at all.
Right. I mean, I think she's just letting her insecurities get the best of her.
Of
and
course,
I don't think he was being dishonest.
Like I was going to say, if you're 3 years into your relationship and maybe the photos are still up there, you might have a problem. Even then, I know.
You know, this idea that we come into a new relationship and suddenly I have no past.
I have no sexual past.
And I've never, I mean,
that's my
good
dream.
for you that you have
no
this
past.
hot guy who used to be with this other hot woman and now he's with you. Like, obviously, you've got something going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're going to mess it up. You're basically just throwing a grenade into your relationship.
Right. I mean,
the comparison game never gets you anywhere.
Works.
No.
We have to stop doing that.
We do.
And women do this so much. I don't know is it as bad for men?
I don't
Women
know.
do it
all the
you know,
time.
and we're taught to compete as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a part of it. But, you know, it's really something I work with women on in my sexual empowerment programs, because you cannot be empowered and be tearing other women down or constantly comparing yourself and tearing yourself down. That is not an empowered place.
Right.
And everyone has their own thing to offer. Why would you do this to yourself? He gets to have pictures of people.
Right.
I'm not going to give up pictures of my past relationships that are memories for me, or people that were important in my life and might still be.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And this is all based on her own interpretation of what happened.
Yeah.
And but you're right. I don't know why women. I mean,
think.
people,
Oh, sorry.
No, people always talk about how, especially being in LA. I'm not saying this doesn't happen everywhere, but I remember. I don't know, but just because it's such a LA is a different world in some ways about like looks and celebrity. But I wasn't just brought up this way. Like I'm really not a competitive person, and I don't. Luckily, I always have other issues, but I'm not like I'm always like let's all bring each other up, bring women up. But I do think that it comes up all the time here. People saying, "Do you find the women really catty here, and are they really competitive?" And I don't remember people asking me that in San Francisco. I'm not saying that whatever happens everywhere, but I do think it's something that, I mean, if you can get women just to focus, you know, it's a confidence thing, and get them to look at and celebrate themselves, but it's just, I think it's just really hard because it's always in your face, especially now with social media and Instagram, and you're looking at everything, and it's just not helping. Not that women and men haven't felt insecure since the beginning of time.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, I think guys would, some will stew over that, but they would get over it eventually within a few days. They're not gonna really bring it into the relationship, you know, because again, I think at the end of the day, they're really happy just to be with you.
Yeah.
And again, I'm speaking for all men.
Right. Thank you. Whenever insecurity in a relationship comes up with clients that I'm working with, I always have them look at, is the insecurity in yourself or is it in the relationship?
Right.
Because I think that's a very, very important distinction to make. Is he really doing anything that is giving you great pause and saying, wow, there's a problem here? It doesn't sound like from what she wrote there is.
No, not at all.
And so then that's her work to do. You know, you've got to do your work on your own insecurity and not project that onto him. If you do, you will lose the relationship. Because that's not sexy.
Right. Not sexy
It's
at all.
really not.
You don't want to get mad, be nagging, why do you have the picture? I mean, that is sabotaging it. So how would you work with her, for example?
I think to really look at what is it bringing up in you, I think you have to get underneath that. And I think it's about her own body insecurity and working on loving her body. And I think there's also a piece where she's afraid to let herself actually have the pleasure that she's having. And
Right,
I think
just
that
think she
people
deserves
run
it.
from pleasure. They feel like the last guy, feeling guilty about pleasure. We feel guilty about feeling good. We are meant to feel good. Pleasure is a gift from spirit, from the universe, from God, whatever you believe in. It is a gift. We are meant to feel that.
I know.
Why would you put something in the way? She talks about how she's so excited and she's thinking of him. Awesome.
It's our brains
Focus on
automatically
that.
like, can't be too happy. You better bring this down.
Right.
Better too much-
Yeah.
How can I mess this up?
Yep.
Exactly.
So,
No, sabotage
we all have that saboteur inside of us,
I know.
so I would work with her on that saboteur.
And you also see people, so they should definitely get your book, Woman on Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And please get her book. And Amy Jo's book will also, it'll be on my website, but would you prefer them to go to amyjogoddard.com and buy it? Amazon? What do you?
Wherever you want to buy it.
Wherever
It is
books are
available,
sold
wherever
online.
books are sold.
I love it. And
People,
it really is a great book, and it's so useful.
Support
for
your
some
local
people.
bookstore. That's really my favorite place for people to buy books, but it's available online. You
I
can
don't
get
think they
it
have bookstores in
wherever.
LA anymore.
Do they not?
Are
we done with that?
I think I saw one once.
Damn.
I think it went out of business.
That one is still in Venice Beach. I love that one on the boardwalk. I always go in there.
Oh, yeah.
I love
yeah,
that.
I know
wish
there's
went
one
over
in the
there more.
Mission of San Francisco.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm
This
going.
is so sad. We're
Yeah.
like, libraries, bookstores. What's that?
What?
God, it's so sad.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being back on the show. Great having you, Amy Jo Goddard. And everyone should check out your book and follow you on all your social media at Amy Jo Goddard. Is there anything else that anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, I just did this video series that people loved. So if anyone wants to grab it,
tell.
It's an erotic evolution video series, and it's a 4-part video series, and they can download it on my or access it on my homepage.
Okay.
It's a great.
What does it teach?
I talk about how to really have more sexual self-acceptance, which both of the people who wrote
yes,
in
perfect.
need, so
And those are just the 2 we read today.
Yeah.
There's
Those are just
100
the
in my
2.
inbox,
Yeah.
right?
So the first video is a lot about that. Gosh, what else do I talk about? There's a bit about sexual shame, looking at the cultural traps we get into and the ways in which we hold ourselves back sexually. And then there's a whole piece on the sexual voice and really understanding the interplay of the inner and external sexual voice and how that either empowers or disempowers us. So some really good stuff in there.
Congratulations on all your success. You're helping a lot of people and doing great work.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Of
I always
course.
love coming to talk to you, Emily.
It's so fun. We got to come back.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, and thank you, Menace.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Meet you,
being here
Menace.
and being
Yeah.
the voice of all men.
Right.
Oh yeah, I
right.
speak for all men all the time.
I know.
You're
And
going to get
thank-
hate mail now. You're
Exactly.
going to be like, I don't feel
Now
that.
we're
Just
used
add
to
it to the pile.
We don't get it as much anymore. Now they're like, it's Menace.
You know what? My team and I are always, every time we get hate mail, we got some crazy thing today. We're like, you know what? We're doing something right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're
You
doing
can't
something
take it
right.
all.
Delete.
You can't
It's
take it all
okay.
in.
Yeah.
Right. But I like the love mail better, but it's cool. Thank you, Madison. Thank you, Nina over there, intern Nina. She's controlling the Snapchat because you can find us now at Sex with Emily on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. It's all at Sex with Emily. Facebook.com/Sex with Emily. Friendster, and YouTube channel. All this fun stuff. And Menace is at Menace.
At Menace on Instagram
And My Dog
Twitter.
Churro?
And My Dog Churro.
Should I get
little
my dog
baby.
Pepe on Instagram?
If you want to get Pepe on Instagram, you should do it.
Can Pepe just join Churro on Instagram? It could be like my dog's Pepe and Churro, and then you could just take over.
But then
It could be fun.
but her
How are their
username.
sex lives doing? That's what I want to know.
Oh yeah,
Churro.
You should ask.
How is Churro sex life?
She's still young.
Oh, it's a she.
Yeah.
See, mine's a he.
I've always said
I
she.
forget. I think all dogs are he's.
Now I'm offended.
Don't be
We gotta
offended.
end-
I do it
end
all the time.
show.
Don't be offended. I don't want to offend you. The last show I shocked you. Now I'm offending you.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's okay.
jeez. It's time to go
Difficult.
then. Okay.
See, managing relationships.
It's so hard. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Was it good for you? Email me feedback@sexwithemily.com. Okay, everyone, thanks for listening to the show. Let me ask you a question. Are you getting enough? I bet you'd love a little bit more, right? Well, adamandeve.com wants to give you more with 10 free gifts. First, you get a sexy surprise for her, an especially selected toy for him, and third, a little something we know you'll both enjoy. Plus you'll get 6 full-length adult movies on DVD, and number 10, free shipping on your entire order, because who the hell wants to pay for shipping? Nobody. To get your free gifts, go to adamandeve.com, select just one item. You can get the Jimmy Jane Hello Touch, sexy pieces of lingerie. You can get a lube. You should always buy a high-quality lubricant. We love Uber Lube or Pure. They're all great. Just enter Emily at checkout, get your 10 free gifts. Go to adamandeve.com, use code Emily at checkout, and get 10 free gifts. Let me tell you a little bit about Promescent. Did you know 1 in 3 men suffers from premature ejaculation? Well, now you don't have to. Promescent is a quickly absorbing delay spray that allows you to have the sex you want. You can focus on actually having sex and not trying to be inside your head, so you can focus on your partner's hot body, so you're not worrying about orgasming if you use Promescent. It also closes the arousal gap between men and women, even if you're don't suffer from premature ejaculation, but you just want to last longer. It is the only FDA-approved treatment for premature ejaculation. It doesn't transfer to your partner. Check it out. Go to promescent.com. Thanks for listening.